Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update: cheat on me with my best friend. I'll wreck your career and publicly humiliate both of you. Original post. S-Head and Sarah have been like family to my wife and I for several years, practically ever since we moved in across the street from them. The four of us were extremely tight. Our kids are the same age as theirs and are all good friends. We were one big family unit. We did dinner together a few times a week. We went on vacations together. I truly saw S-Head as a brother, and my wife and Sarah were very close too. 5 months ago, I was completely blindsided by the discovery of an affair between my wife and S-Head. My wife had left her email open on our computer, and I saw an email from her to her longtime therapist saying that S-Head would be joining her at an upcoming session again. Oh, what the heck? My mind started racing. Why in the world would S-Head be going to her therapy sessions without my knowledge? So I did a search and found some other emails to and from the therapist, proving that S-Head had been going to sessions together with her for about 6 weeks. I checked our mobile phone account and discovered that since late summer, they had been exchanging hundreds of texts every day, peaking at nearly 500 a day by the holidays. Speaking of the holidays, my wife and I hosted both of our families, parents, siblings, etc., for both Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, and S-Head and Sarah joined us, either for dinner or after dinner on both holidays. Text records showed that the entire time that they were at our house celebrating with our families, my wife and S-Head were texting each other across the room. They were doing that pretty much every time the four of us hung out. For months. And, all day every day just in general. But what bothers me the most is that they were doing it with Sarah and I right there. I confronted my wife with the evidence, and she admitted that yes, she and S-Head had fallen in love. It just happened. I don't know how, but I love him and I just don't feel anything for you anymore. I'm sorry. They had gone on a school district trip together. Something had happened in her hotel room, and things had moved quickly from there. She explained, as I lay face down on the couch, unable to look at her, that they had already made plans to move out and divorce me and Sarah. And while they didn't plan to move in together immediately because of the kids, they'd probably do so eventually. The meetings with the therapist were supposedly mostly for the purpose of finding a way to break this to me and Sarah as gently as possible, because they were so very concerned for our well-being. Sarah and I are fairly certain that they weren't planning on telling us about the affair at all, and were simply going to discover their feelings for one another several months down the line, after they'd come up with some other reason to divorce the two of us. My wife moved out 2 months ago. I was, and still am, utterly destroyed. I cry every day. I cried writing the first few paragraphs of this story just now. I worry nonstop about the impact on our kids. But I am also not exactly a shrinking violet when I feel that I've been wronged. And in this case, I was, objectively, very, very wronged. So, a couple of years ago, S-Head ran for a Board of Education seat as a pretty extreme underdog. I helped him with his campaign materials and debate prep. And my wife, a well-known school district employee, this becomes important later, got the word out as best she could. Much to our surprise, he actually won in a squeaker by just a few dozen votes. Being on the board became the center of S-Head's world. He joined every committee that he could. This turned into the foundation of his affair with my wife, as they were constantly going to school events and meetings together on evenings and weekends. Once I discovered the affair, my thoughts turned pretty quickly to revenge, and it occurred to me that an extramarital affair between a member of the Board of Education and an employee of the school district was at least bad politics and possibly violated district policy. Making things far worse for them was that my wife was in the running for an open administrative position, and everyone knew that she was more or less guaranteed the job and the major pay raise that came with it. She had just finished her master's degree in school administration at the urging of her principal and the superintendent so that she could be promoted to this specific position. I had plenty of evidence of the affair, texts from both of them admitting to it, text records showing that they were texting hundreds of times a day, emails to and from the therapist, and so on. I considered simply emailing all of the evidence to the board and the superintendent, but felt like I, as the grieving betrayed spouse, might not be seen as a credible source. So instead, I invented a fictitious furious friend who was planning on showing up to the next board meeting and publicly shaming the two of them for their affair. I told my wife that I'd tried to talk this person down, but couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't show up and humiliate them publicly. As I expected, this led S-Head to conclude that the only option was for him to preemptively admit the affair to the board. The superintendent subsequently recommended that S-Head resign, which he did. Sarah said that he was utterly humiliated and crushed, and barely got out of bed for a few days afterward. Once word of the affair and S-Head's resignation started getting around, the superintendent, a longtime friend of both my wife and S-Head, contacted my wife and tearfully informed her that it was no longer politically appropriate for her to be promoted to an administrative position within the district. The position that had been lined up for her was later filled by an outside candidate. This sent waves of confusion and rumor throughout the district, as it was pretty well known that my wife was getting the job. The day after she was informed that she wasn't getting the promotion, my wife and I, despite our crumbling marriage, took our son out to breakfast together on his birthday, and a parent stopped by our table to congratulate her on her new role. She said thanks, then excused herself to go cry in the bathroom for a while. I let the dust settle for a couple of weeks, and then right before my wife moved out, let them in on my little secret. There was never a furious friend threatening to expose them in the first place, just me. Word of all of this has gotten around our fairly small town, which S-Head grew up in and my wife has worked in for nearly 20 years. My wife refuses to talk to me about how things are at work now, but I've heard from some people I know in the district that her formerly spotless reputation has taken a major hit. S-Head, formerly a gregarious social presence in our neighborhood and at events in pubs in town, has completely gone underground and barely emerges to mow his lawn. He's moving out soon to a crappy little townhouse, which is all he can afford due to all the child support he's going to have to pay his wife. My wife and S-Head claim that they plan on trying to make things work together, despite all the public humiliation. I wish them lots of luck with that. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun to show their faces together in town. Edit. Are you and Sarah a thing now? You should totally be a thing, that would be awesome. No. We're friends. We've been incredibly important to each other since this all started and have certainly gotten a lot closer, but not in the way everyone's thinking. This would all be so much harder to deal with if I didn't have her to lean on, and she says she feels the same way about me. We're going through basically the exact same situation with the same players after all. S-Head hasn't moved out yet. Once he does, we plan to go back to getting the kids together more often like they used to. It'll never be the same, of course. She already does come over with the kids from time to time, but it's just tough with S-Head's constant presence across the street. Didn't your revenge hurt both sets of kids? Not really. S-Head has a day job. The Board of Education was his hobby and his passion, but this didn't affect his income at all. And my wife has been assured that if she wants to pursue an administrative position with another district, she'll have glowing letters of recommendation from her superintendent and principal. It'll mean giving up a lot of work relationships in the process, but given the hit her reputation has taken, I'm guessing she makes that jump sooner rather than later. In the meantime, not moving to an administrative job means that she still has summers off with the kids. Why do you call her your wife instead of your former wife? We're working our way through divorce mediation, but it isn't final yet. We'll be soon. Why didn't you notice all of the texting your wife was doing? Well, I did. It was really starting to piss me off. It was excessive. She has a big social circle and does tend to text a lot anyway, but it was really getting over the top, to the point where she was completely ignoring me and the kids. At one point in November, I asked her to agree to a no phones at the dinner table rule, which she agreed to reluctantly, but then would pout through dinner, and eventually she just started using her phone during dinner again. All that said, I was blind. Not only was the texting getting weird, but her relationship with S-Head was starting to make me uncomfortable. Sarah noticed it too and agreed. We confronted them a couple of times about it directly, and they both swore up and down that it was just school stuff that they were talking about. There was nothing else going on. And for whatever reason, we believed them, probably because the mind tends to refuse to see things that it doesn't want to see. Thanks, by the way, for all of the support in the comments. I couldn't reply to everyone, but I did read them all, and I appreciate them, even the brutally honest feedback from people who feel that I did the wrong thing. Posting this and reading all of the responses introduced me to perspectives I hadn't considered about all of this, and reminded me most of all that the anguish I'm dealing with is pretty normal given the situation I'm going through. I had a pretty okay Memorial Day weekend, even though I missed my wife and thought a lot about the things we'd probably be doing as a family. I'm taking my kids camping next weekend, and having something like that to look forward to, and plan has me feeling pretty good today. Now for top comments before reading the update 3 years later. Something had happened in her hotel room. Well, that's one way to put it. They refused to tell us what exactly happened, which tells us all we need to know. Even our child psychologist rolled his eyes at that part of the story. Could have been an accident. Maybe your wife was innocently lying on her back to put her pants on while S-Head was in the bathroom peeing, and then he stepped on a skateboard, rode it into the sleeping area, and fell right on top of her. Happens all the time. I love you. It's been more than a year since my husband divorced me for someone else. I still cry every day. I will never see justice of any kind for the years I lost loving him. I love you for getting your revenge. Faithless people suck, and they deserve everything they get. I know exactly how you feel, and I'm so sorry for what you're going through. I hope it gets better someday. I still have no idea whether it will. Getting them to press a self-destruct button, outstanding move. Minimum effort, maximum destruction, and didn't even have to get his hands dirty. I respect that. I dig it. It's still a pretty sad story. A great life for all four of them dissolves because two people make the selfish decision to focus on their own happiness rather than the other person's. I sorta dig it, and mostly I'm just bummed. The real tragedy is the impact something like this has on the kids. Sad internet strangers care more about the kids' well-being more than the cheaters do. And now for the update. I've been getting a surprising number of requests to post an update to this story. I guess it blew up a bit on TikTok, which I don't use. Where to start? It's been a bizarre few years, especially with COVID thrown in the mix, which I somehow still have never caught, despite my kids getting it twice each, thankfully just mild cases. Well, at the time that I posted the original story, I was obviously a wreck. Things actually got significantly darker for a while after that. My ex decided to start bringing S-head around our kids just a few months after she moved out, which was really hard for me to deal with. I'd never really dealt with serious depression before, but things got bad enough that my doctor more or less forced me to start on an antidepressant because I admitted to him that I was thinking about self-harm pretty frequently. I think this is where I should mention trigger warning for the rest of this paragraph. I had a very specific plan and everything I needed to do it. The one thing that gave me any kind of relief was telling myself that if life got any more unbearable, I had a way out. So yeah, things got bad. But I'm still here, and thankfully I don't think about that option anymore. I reluctantly decided to dip my toe into the online dating world, and after a number of short-term things that didn't pan out, I actually connected with someone, much to my surprise. We'll have been together for 2 years next month. She's absolutely amazing. We don't live together, and for the time being, we're both good with seeing each other a few times a week. But I love to see her more. Yep. Am I ready to live with someone again and go all Brady Bunch with our respective kids? I'm not sure. For the time being, we have a lot of fun together, and that's more than good enough for me. As far as things stand with my ex and S-head, they're still together, but there seems to be trouble in paradise because my kids report that they almost never see him anymore. My kids don't like him at all, and they just avoid him when he's around, according to my older one. When all of this started, she had seemed confident that they'd be living together pretty soon, but they still don't, and as far as I know, there are no plans in the works for that. They did buy a boat together, which I find hilarious for some reason. It just seems like the classic affair couple thing to do. Sarah took a long time to accept that her marriage was truly over. But once she did, she really did an admirable job of moving on. She engrossed herself in home improvement projects, she remains the same incredible mom that she's always been, and she's been in a friends with benefits type relationship, which is all she wants right now, with a nice funny guy for almost 2 years. We hang out here and there, especially when my pool is open in the summer. We aren't nearly as dependent on each other as we were in the beginning, but we're still close friends. And no, still nothing more than that, which I'm glad about, because the one thing this situation definitely never needed was more drama. My ex left the school district she was working for and took a job in a neighboring district. I have no idea what S-head is up to, nor do I care. I hardly ever see him except at the occasional school event. For a while there, I was worried that he'd look at me the wrong way, and I'd wind up in jail for knocking him out in an elementary school cafeteria, or something, but I just don't care enough about him anymore for that to be a concern. So all in all, life is pretty okay right now. I do miss being a family. I still have nightmares about all of this stuff and deal with intrusive thoughts at times. I fall asleep to audiobooks now to keep those thoughts at bay, otherwise, I still struggle to sleep sometimes. But my girlfriend is amazing. I have an incredibly supportive family. I just officiated my sister's wedding a couple of months ago, and I have a big dog who needs lots of walks, and that's a huge help for me on so many levels. I hope that update answered people's questions. Thanks again for all of the support. Taking your affair partner to therapy is wild. Imagine doing that 6 consecutive times, and then accidentally leaving an email mentioning it open and saying you were trying to work out a way to tell OP. Oh. Pro revenge, but rookie move admitting that he was the furious friend. I think it's hilarious that his ex and S-head don't live together. Someone realized really fast that their relationship isn't as fun and spicy when it's out in the open lol. Yeah, he should have kept the friend thing a secret. The uncertainty about who had screwed them over would have added to the hit they were taking. What garbage people they are. The tidbit about them buying a boat together of all things tickled me. A boat. Seems like such a random purpose for a couple that doesn't even live together to make. But I did love the revenge itself. OP barely had to lift a finger. All it took was playing dumb and pulling a classic my friend move. I'm weirdly pleased that it's been literal years, and they haven't even gotten their act together to, well, live together lol. Tidbit about them buying a boat together, of all things, tickled me. The kind of smart financial planning you'd expect from adulterers. I read that, and thought of my father who bought a boat with the chick he basically trauma bonded to after our mother's death. He deeply regrets that decision. He loves the boat, but there is no freaking way that thing is going to be able to be shared between them. I can say for sure that I did not expect an update to this story at all. And really, it's the kind of update you'd expect. Broken things remain broken, affair partners who like each other still like each other, emotions are recovering because time heals an awful lot. But it was nice to see it spelled out. And it was a mild surprise that the affair partners stayed together. Hey there, it's your boy Foxy, back for more relationship stories. Update. Caught my wife of 13 years cheating with a co-worker. Original post. Just here to get straight to the point. My wife and I have been married since we were 25, we are 38 now. We met in college, got married, and everything has been great. We both graduated, got good jobs, and started our lives together. Me and my wife both made good money, so money was never an issue for us. My wife worked for her dad's small business while I worked for a very large company. After a few years, my boss left the company out of nowhere and they needed someone to take over. The only person who knew how to run the department was me. So I got a major pay jump, better bonus, better benefits, the works. So at 28, I was making probably 3 times or more than my wife. At 28, the same year, my wife gave birth to our first daughter. Then, 2 years later, our second. My wife, due to working for her father, was able to be more diverse in working. Well, around 5 years ago, my father-in-law passed away unexpectedly. That left my mother-in-law and wife in a hard position. Sell the company or run it themselves. My mother-in-law had no clue how to run it, so my wife said she would do it. After my wife took the company, it did just as well as when her father ran it. With that being said, my wife got a huge pay increase, more than me. I was proud of her. Going from a basic worker to running a whole company isn't easy. Anyway, our daughters started suffering from not seeing their parents. Me and my wife discussed one of us staying home. She said, "The company you work for will be fine without you. Mine could go under." I agreed, so I quit my job and became a stay-at-home dad and husband. I do everything. I make sure the girls are all taken care of. I cook, clean, fix things, make sure errands are run, you name it. I pamper my wife when she gets home from working. This went well for a while, until about a year ago. My wife was always very appreciative of what I did and loved it. But she has become very mean lately, like just saying things like, "Do you do anything?" Or "How about you work for real?" What? I work my butt every day making sure you don't have to lift a finger when you get home at all. Also, I had a real job, but I quit to raise and take care of the girls, our home, and you. Not to mention my wife is very intimate, always has been. And she quit initiating, and when I ask, she is never in the mood. That was very odd. Eventually, I quit trying. I just thought, with all the pandemic crap and everything else, she was just very stressed and it was getting to her. I started trying harder to make her happy. Nothing ever worked. Last weekend, my oldest had a softball game. So, I get everything ready and we go. During the game, I wanted to take a video for my mom and dad since they live in another state and don't get to see my daughters that often. I forgot my phone, so I asked my wife if I could see hers. She had been attached to it all day, so it would be good for her to get off it. Anyway, she hands it to me and says she is going to get a drink and a snack. She gets up and I video my daughter when a message comes up on some app. I check and I can't even fathom what I see. My wife and this guy from her work, who is 8 years younger, are sexting and sending videos and pics, talking about how great their hookup was, and then me. He is saying how I am some wimp who can't get a real job taking care of his woman, and my wife agrees with him. I couldn't believe what I just saw. I was so devastated and angry all at the same time. I heard my wife coming back, so I closed the app and started videoing. On the ride home and when we get home, my wife tries to talk to me and I am not in the mood. Eventually we lay in bed, and for the first time cause I guess they hadn't met in a while, tried to be intimate. I tell her I am not in a mood. She says, if you are going to complain about everything, you can sleep on the couch. I got up and went to the couch, and now have been here since. I don't know how to move forward with this. I really just don't know where to start. My wife was my everything, my girls are my world, and all of that is dying. Any advice would be wonderful, as I really freaking need it. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Divorce her. You will get half the assets, child support, and alimony. So sorry this happened, bro. Then go back to work if you can. This one's easy. Next time you have her phone, screenshot the proof and send it to yourself, maybe under the excuse of sending yourself the video. Get the meanest lawyer you can find to divorce her, take half her business and savings, and sue for child support and alimony. Since you are the stay-at-home parent, you're more likely to get full custody than she is. You gave up everything for her, and she threw it in your face. I'd go scorched earth. I know, people often say leaving isn't that easy. I did it. Now that I'm on the other side, and I can wholeheartedly say it was the best decision of my life. Actually, don't take her business, she is doing well and it will ensure he is paid decent alimony and child support. But go for everything else. Leaving the business also makes OP seem reasonable. Like he'd like to leave the family business intact for the kids, etc. Get a good lawyer, my guy. And leave. She doesn't respect you anymore. Now for the first update. Hey everyone, I want to thank you all for the advice you all gave me. First off, I do have the text, pics, videos, and everything. Second, I don't any of the company. It is 50-50 between her and my mother-in-law. Third, I can't sleep in the bed. I have been sleeping the guest bedroom every night, and that is where I will be staying. To answer, I have decided to divorce her. Anyway, this morning I called a firm in another town to avoid anyone finding out. Thankfully, they were able to get me in this morning as someone had canceled. After dropping off my girls, I drove over there. To make a long story short, he is a very good lawyer. I showed him what I had. He said that luckily for me, with the evidence I have, she will be pretty much screwed in the divorce. Seeing as I quit my job to raise our girls, she is never home, she is having an affair, prioritizes this man over me and my girls, that she will lose very easily. He basically said we will get child support, alimony, I will keep the house, and we will have to pay for it as long as my girls live there. Also, he stated that we could even try for more money, since I am considered no longer viable in the working world, to help me pay for more education to get a job. Some of you were right. He said to not work until after the divorce is over. He said since you are the husband, if you have a job, you can lose a lot of this. He asked if I wanted full custody. I said that I don't mind my wife seeing her girls on the weekends every once in a while, but I would want mostly full custody. He said since she had an affair in the marital home, I can basically do what I want. Since he stated bringing over a strange man over to the house put the girls in danger and makes her guilty. So I will be going for full custody, where she can get weekends once maybe twice a month. No man will be allowed around my girls, and if there are, she could face problems by me if I find out. I just don't want that POS around my girls. He eventually said to keep quiet until the draft are ready, and then he will issue someone to serve her and have it issued that she is required to leave the home. He said he should have it done sometime next week. He asked me to just keep quiet. He said I know it is hard and you are upset, but just shut the hell up until everything is done. Once the divorce is over you can say whatever the hell you want about her, but until then, keep your mouth shut. He said act as normal. He said no fights, no issues, sleep in separate bed, and no more bedroom fun. I said no problem, but why? He said trust me, just don't do it and do as I say. I just got home and have started getting ready for dinner and acting and being normal. I will be acting as if everything is okay until she is served next week. As I can only make 2 updates on here, any more will be on my page if anyone cares. Thank you all for the advice and some very harsh words. And to the one guy who asked for my wife's private photos, just know, it seems all you have to do is ask her and she will send them, so it isn't that hard it appears. Quick edit. He recommended I get an STD test, plus a DNA test on my girls. When I asked why, he said, it is pretty rare that incidents like this are the first time they have happened. So yeah, that fucking hurt to hear and scared the hell out of me. He means don't be intimate with her so there won't be a pregnancy scare, because cornered cheaters try everything to prolong the inevitable. Good luck, you got this. And I'm so sorry you're going through this. Hug your little girls a little extra. I plan to. Thank you. There is another reason. In some states, upon finding out and knowing of the other party's adultery, intimacy afterwards can be seen as forgiveness and nullifies the request for the divorce as cause instead of irreconcilable differences. OP, as horrible as this all is, you have considerable power as your lawyer has pointed out. Stay strong, man, sorry. I caution you about one thing. Decide now if biology will change your perspective of your babies. If none of them were yours, would you stay in their lives? What if only one or two? Don't ruminate on the implications, because that'll mess you up. Just decide if you love them enough to stay if they weren't. Some people just don't test because of this. That said, do what the lawyer said because he's right. It's very unlikely she's being safe because in reality the risk of pregnancy ups the thrill, and sleeping with her can lengthen the divorce. If one or none of them are biologically mine, those are my daughters. I am their dad. I will raise them and love them no different. It will just hurt knowing they may want to meet their biological father one day. I am a little lost. You have to share a bed with her or sleep in separate beds. How does this not make her suspicious if you're sleeping in separate beds? Did you dig through her financials? How's the mother-in-law? Are they shrewd? You look before this affair started what she was paying herself, if it's a limited liability company, and the end-of-year dividends she was getting in various tax avoidance scheme lets companies do. Also look for any changes in pay when the affair started to get heated. Was more mother taking more pay? Did your soon-to-be ex pay reduce? There are loads of ways to hide income with limited liability companies and make it to appear as something else. Basically, she just think I'm throwing a fit after she yelled at me and called me a weakling and giving her the silent treatment. Stay strong. You're doing what's best for you and your kids, and even your soon-to-be ex-wife who needs a reality check, not that you should care. It seems that she has become delusional and selfish due to her affair, and is just adopting the arguments the POS is serving her to justify her actions. In that state, she's not the wife you knew, she's a totally different person. Some people would tell you she's her true self and was always like this inside, but I don't think so. The dopamine addiction for being pursued and validated during an affair can cause heavy personality changes in a person's mind and generate out-of-character behaviors. The brain uses dopamine to create new neural pathways for survival purposes. It's how the reward system works to drive us to certain behaviors. Sometimes it goes totally wrong and favors narcissistic mindsets like hers. Be prepared for the shock she will receive when she learns you are divorcing her. It's possible if you are lucky that the panic of losing everything will wake her up, and then out of guilt, she might not fight back too hard and let you have what you deserve without things becoming too dirty, as long as she can still see the girls on your conditions. It's also possible she's in too deep and will just be outraged and angry you dare fight back for your self-respect, at least for a while. Sometimes it takes a while to recover from a delusion like hers. Focus on your girls, eat properly, and exercise if possible so you'll get the toxicity out and sleep more easily. Yeah, this has been going on almost a year at this point. Pretty much he just says how she is so good and that I am worthless. I agree, this is not the woman I fell in love with and married. I don't know who this is. Thank you. I do work out. I actually look the same as we did when we were in our 20s, while she doesn't. But I love the way she looked. I just don't know why she did this. I have set up an STD test and a DNA test, so I guess I will have more answers soon. Now for the second update. Hey everyone, I just want to thank you to all who sent me good messages over this period. I have been feeling down and things have been rough. To preface, I have talked to my lawyer about these posts. I didn't go into too much detail, but they did tell me though, that as long as I keep them brief and not super specific, that I can post. But that I just have to be careful about what I put on to not lead too many details. That is that. So for quick update, like I said, I will be brief and not too specific for legal reasons. We will start with the test. I was able to get an STD on myself and a paternity test on my girls. I came out that I thankfully have no disease and I am clear. Since I have pretty much not been intimate with her for the last year, I wasn't all that surprised. Now for the one that I am sure most of you are wondering. The test on my two girls. Am I the dad? I will always be their dad regardless of the results. However, I am here to say that yes, I am their biological father. I have never been so happy to know that I am their dad. Never thought I would have to question it, but here we are. As for what has happened with my soon-to-be ex, well, she is out of the house and I have been granted full temporary custody. In the future, maybe a while, I will go into more specific details. However, for now she is out of the house. My lawyer set everything up for me to get my girls and make sure that we legally handled her being removed from the home. It wasn't pretty, but details for another time. She was served at work, and from what I know, it wasn't pretty. Like I said though, details for another time. My girls know what is going on. My oldest knows we are separating, and one of her friend's parents split for the same reason. She has seen what happened with her friend and doesn't want us to split. She has been crying for me to let mommy come home. I will be getting them in with a child therapist to explain and help them understand from direction of my lawyer. My youngest just wants mommy to come home and misses her. It kills me and makes me feel like a terrible father, and they probably hate me now. Sometimes I think I should just let their mother cheat on me to keep the family unit to make my girls happy. I just can't do that. Sometimes I think about talking about allowing an open relationship, and we can just wait till the girls are older, but that won't work for me. Plus, I know the girls will pick up on it, and will not like it that mommy and daddy don't love each other. As for my ex, she is living with her mother at this point. My mother-in-law has called me and asked to meet. I agreed and we will be meeting at some point. She didn't ask for details, as she said we will talk later, but begged me not to take her granddaughters away from her. I said you are a great and loving grandmother, and as long as you can separate my girls from what is going on between your daughter and I see no issue with you being able to see them, and I will not take them out of your life. She thanked me and that is it. My ex has been trying to call me and text me trying to figure out us. Under direction of my lawyer, he has had it set up so that I can talk to her through a trackable method, and it is purely about the girls. No more, no less. So, that is it for now. We'll probably keep updating, and once this is all over with, I will make one big update for all the details I have to be careful about as of now. Thank you. Now for more comments before reading the last updates. Yeah, get the girls into therapy for now. In the future, they will understand much more clearly, but for now they need to process. Sounds like you've handled everything the right way so far. Keep strong, and I hope to read the details in the not-too-distant future. I am so sorry to hear how much your kids are struggling. Even if it is understandable and expected, it must be incredibly rough. It sounds like your soon-to-be ex understands what is going on, and hopefully is under the mindset of everything she did, and understands the best thing forward for everyone is to get through this amicably. I am also guessing your mother-in-law probably knows what happened if she didn't ask. It is good that she seems to be acting like an adult and can control her daughter. Third update. So first off, I had Thanksgiving with my soon-to-be ex and mother-in-law. I did this purely for the girls, and made sure with my lawyer this was only about the girls and not about reconciliation. That was taken care of. First, I have met with my mother-in-law pre-Thanksgiving. We met and had a pretty mutual discussion. Mainly just things about how we will handle my daughters after. My mother-in-law did tell me some stuff about my soon-to-be ex. I guess my soon-to-be ex was cheated on by her high school boyfriend. Didn't even know she dated anyone. I guess this guy came from one of those families according to my mother-in-law, and they told her to avoid him. Well, I guess one night she caught him with his head under another girl's dress and tongue deep in a girl's jewelry box. This is why my mother-in-law couldn't believe she would do this. She had a couple boyfriend they met in college, but she knew they wouldn't last. She said that as soon as she met me, she found her son-in-law. Says she is so sorry for her daughter's actions and will make sure that she doesn't try to do anything problematic with the divorce. Anyway, a couple days before Thanksgiving, my mother-in-law asked for me to come over for dinner with the girls. I asked, will she be there? She said yes. I said I can't with her there. She said she understands, but asked if we could put on the holiday one more time for the girls. She said, I know you have a lawyer. Ask them, and if they said it is a bad idea, I get it. I did, and they said tell your wife via the app that this is purely for the girls to avoid any confusion. So I did. She had contacted me before about coming over. She has been begging me to see me and the girls. The girls have been begging me to see their mom. I swallowed my pride for my girls and we went. It was awkward. My soon-to-be ex gave our daughters a hug. Fine, then tried to hug and kiss me. I just avoided her and went to give my mother-in-law a hug. My soon-to-be ex tried to act like husband and wife and was trying to talk to me. I answered with yes and no's and helped my mother-in-law finish dinner and clean up. My mother-in-law is religious and wanted to do a prayer, and my soon-to-be ex sat next to me. I held my daughter's hand. My wife tried to grab mine. I pulled away. I know it may seem petty, but I don't want her touching me. I am an atheist, but out of respect for my mother-in-law, I go along with it. Dinner was fine. Again, soon-to-be ex trying to act like we are going to be married, and asking about Christmas and vacations I guess she wants to take with us as a family. When she mentioned this stuff, I knew going over was a mistake. We finished dinner and I pretty much got up, cleaned my daughters and I dishes, then was ready to go. My daughters wanted to watch a movie with their mother we always watch. I let them, and my soon-to-be ex tried to cuddle next to me on the couch. I sat in the chair after that. My mother-in-law was very mad at my soon-to-be ex the whole night for how she acted. I could tell by the looks she gave her. Movie ended and we started to leave. My daughters fell asleep, so I carried them to the car. Went and grabbed something, and my soon-to-be ex grabbed me in tears begging to work on things, and that she wants to be a family, and is so sorry for what happened. Before I could say anything, my mother-in-law grabbed her by the hair. Not joking, just yanked her, told me goodnight, and began yelling at her daughter. So yeah, told my lawyer everything, and said nothing indicated reconciliation and you made that clear in your messages. You are fine. Wife once again called in begging now to work on us. She gets left on red. I will only talk about the girls, and I am sure they are going to want to do the same for Christmas. I don't know if I can or if it is okay. Once again, I will discuss with my lawyer. So sorry, this has been so rough. You are doing great though. If you ever think she really is regretful, think back in those messages she sent about you. I know your girls want to see their mom, but does the oldest understand what happened at this point? I know you aren't bringing it up, but I can't imagine how hard it is on them. They start therapy next week, and they will be told by a professional what is going on. So glad to hear they are starting. I hope they aren't too upset at you. I am sure they are going through an emotional roller coaster. Like you wouldn't believe. I understand though why they are. I mean, their whole world is crumbling and changing. I am not happy. I could only imagine how it is for them. Stay strong, man. You're doing as well as can be expected thus far. She had no problem talking bad about you behind your back to her boyfriend. You deserve to find peace away from somebody who would do that to you. She's just trying to play nice to protect what she has. Thank you. Could be. She knows she is screwed, and I don't know what is going through her head. Fourth update. Basically, my girls had 2 sessions this week with their therapist. The first one was good. My girls came out seemed to be more at peace and calmer than usual. I talked to the therapist after, and she seemed to be very good and understand my girls well. So I took them to their second one, and it's a complete mess. Basically, the therapist explained in age-appropriate terms that the reason me and their mother is separating is that their mother cheated, had an affair, and betrayed me. I knew eventually she would, but I didn't think it would happen this soon. I went to get my girls, and basically it was a burst of tears and them climbing all over me and giving me hugs, crying, saying they love me. I am happy they love me, but this is not what I wanted to happen with my girls. I asked the therapist why did she tell them. She said the girls knew you two are separating, and the girls noticed you seemed to be really mean and unloving with their mother. Your girls aren't stupid, she told me. They know how you are, and they know how you treat their mom. They wanted to know why you were separating. I tried to walk around it the best I could, she said, but the girls are not going to progress in therapy if we don't tell them. I am not going to go into detail on what exactly she said to them, but it was age-appropriate. But they know the age-appropriate version of their mother being unfaithful. I think my oldest could maybe handle this and be okay, but not my youngest. So we get home, my girls won't let go of me. They are literally crying the whole night, so I order in food, I put in their favorite movies in my bedroom, and we laid there all night. They fell asleep and I went to the bathroom and just cried. My soon-to-be ex doesn't even realize the pain she is causing our girls. I don't know how I am going to deal with this. The therapist told me we could try medication for a bit, till they get used to the new normal. I refused to do so, which she supported and said it was just an option, but I will not drugging them. Disclaimer, she cannot give the meds. She said they would need to see their primary, and they would probably diagnose my girls with something that would allow them to medicate them. I would rather deal with my daughter's emotions the healthy way. I won't have to worry about Christmas as my daughters hate their mother now. How do I know? My oldest said she never want to see her mom again. My youngest follows what her older sister says, even though she may actually agree. I was shocked. I said, you don't hate her, you may be mad, but you don't hate her. She loves and cares about you. My oldest just said, no she doesn't, and then just cried into my arms until she fell asleep, and so did my youngest. So, this is my life now. I don't think there will ever be a good time to bring it up with the girls. And as their therapist said, they notice that you are the one being mean to their mom. Kids are very observant and they should not be forming their opinions based on half-truths. There is another story in Reddit wherein one of OP's kids grew to resent him because he never told her that it was her mom that cheated and stepdad was mom's affair partner. Also, their initial reaction is very understandable. There is probably a little bit of guilt since they initially thought you were the bad guy. Just continue to be there for them and give them lots of hugs. Tell them none of this is their fault and you both love them still. If you don't want growing up with anger towards their mom, then discuss it with their therapist on how you can do that. That doesn't mean they have to forgive mom, just learning to let go and not let it define them. Good luck, OP. The reason is that OP's kids also thought that OP was the bad guy since he was the one who kicked out his wife. And these are the thoughts that your children are having. You and your kids don't deserve that. For me, sugarcoating the truth is the same as lying to them. Let them make the choice to forgive their mother. Let them make the choice to want to have a relationship with her. It is not your responsibility to protect their mother's image. It is your job to teach them to have enough self-respect to leave a relationship after a betrayal. I am rambling, but I hope you don't feel so bad about everything that is happening. It hurts and it will continue to hurt for a while. But with the cards out on the table, you can start healing now. Again, good luck and hope the best for you and your girls. Now for the last update. I am sure it sounds like a really bad sequel, but I wanted to be clear about what this update is about. Just clear up real fast though. The girls are doing better. They are still going to the same therapist, but they are doing better. Kind of coming to the realization. My daughters say they don't hate their mother anymore. However, they have made it very clear that they don't want to see her for a long time. Their words, not mine. We will see how that goes. My wife has been made aware of them knowing. She tried calling my girls. They answered, but my wife has since been a bit more respectful of mine and my girls' boundaries. I think the realization is starting to hit her. Anyway, to the affair partner. Already knew he was a POS, but man, this dude is awful. So, someone asked if there was another betrayed spouse. I didn't know, so I started looking though some stuff for my wife's work. I was able to find a piece of paper with all the employees' numbers and emergency contacts. I called his, and it was his wife's. Turns out he is married. I didn't think he was. Also, he has a toddler. Well, I told his wife, and she didn't believe me and hung up. A little later, she calls me back and asks to meet. I meet her and I show her everything. She asks if we can go to my car. We do. Within a second of closing a door, she burst into tears. Crying, saying, "How could he do this to me? What did I do wrong?" etc. Well, I said you did nothing wrong and gave her my lawyer's number. After that, she asks how long. I said I think a year, maybe a tad longer. She then goes from upset to fucking pissed. I asked her why. She procs to rip her hair off, and it was wig. Tells me she just beat cancer. I guess after their child was born, they found some stuff odd while she was in the hospital, and they found a tumor. So over the last year and a half, she had 2 surgeries, has gone through chemo, and was on medication. She looked very good, so I was surprised. She said she beat it and she is better. But they haven't been intimate in like 2 years. She said, between my pregnancy and cancer, I couldn't. She got really sick while pregnant, then her cancer just killed her almost. Once she started feeling a bit better, she felt horrible in herself. She started gaining weight from the meds, lost her hair, and wasn't as pretty as she used to be. She said, I was now at the point where she could be intimate again, and was going to surprise him here soon for being a caring, loving husband. Now that is off the table. She started crying about her child growing up in a broken home, and I consoled her. She then tried to have sex with me, I guess for revenge, but I said no, you are not in the right state of mind, and this not healthy. She thanked me for my honesty. Then proceeded to ask for the evidence. I gave it to her and she went home. We have texted a couple times since we are both betrayed spouses, so we will keep in contact. So, thank you for the few people who mentioned looking for the other betrayed spouse. I didn't even think about it.